GrokTALK.
Welcome back to GrokTALK. Skip's knocking stuff over. Oh, we are your conservative podcast. Are we the leading conservative podcast, or are we just the conservative podcast?
That's in New Hampshire, at least. Anyway.
Yeah, well, we're here.
And we've got the special added ingredient, squirrels.
We do have the squirrels, yes.
Yeah, certainly in New Hampshire, I believe that we are.
The leading conservative, we're the most well-armed, because I don't know of any other podcasts, honestly, in
The
New Hampshire right now. Had a history time getting Kevin in here, but if he shows up, he shows up. If he doesn't, we can go without him.
There is no shortage of material.
There is absolutely no shortage of material. So why don't you bring something up?
Okay, so I've actually been looking into Bitcoin, and I'm going to do one of my signature, a little bit too long articles on it. It's about halfway done right now, and it's already longer than average. So I try to leaven it with a little humor, a few pictures, and so on. But so what's up with Bitcoin? It's been a fun few weeks. The libertarians love it. It was highly featured at the Liberty Forum down in Nashua. It has a number of great features if you're a libertarian, such as, it all runs on secure cryptography. The transactions are anonymous. It doesn't touch government anywhere unless you turn it to or from some form of fiat cash, and so on and so forth. And it's not naturally inflationary. So that's why they like it. The problem is it seems to behave more like a penny stock than a currency.
That's true, but it's got a lot of people worried, and I noticed that after the Liberty Forum that was held in Nashua a couple of weeks ago was done, person, and I can't remember his first name, his last name was Davi, was leaving Manchester Airport, and the TSA thought they saw bitcoins in his luggage, and they stopped him. I don't know what they're being told. Is no a Bitcoin. There's representations of what a Bitcoin can look like. You can see a Bitcoin on lots of stuff. Call Kevin. Okay. Well, I'm going to shut up, but take it from there because you probably saw the story as well.
I did, and I thought, well, maybe he had some Bitcoin props in his luggage because he absolutely couldn't have Bitcoin because the Bitcoin is entirely a digital representation. The simplest way to think of a Bitcoin is it's a very complex, secure digital certificate, like the one that protects a bank, only much, much more so. Digital currency and its transactions are protected by long chains of digital certificates. Every time there's a transaction, you transfer some coins or some fractions of coins to people. A anonymous digital certificate is generated from your private certificate, which starts the transaction out, and from the recipient's private certificate, which gives you somewhere to send it, and from the long audit trail of the history of how you got to have it in the first place, which is called the blockchain. And so, it never actually exists is the point. It's basically can be thought of as a digital certificate, and how many you own, what they look like, nobody actually knows. The representation of bitcoins you see in the press are simply an artist's impression used to visualize it, which has been used for publicity purposes. And now we have Kevin. So
we do. I had to go. I can't look at my Facebook and my email at the same time as I'm running my soundboard. So I just noticed that Kevin had said he's going to have to call, and Kevin's on the line. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm well. How you doing, Steve?
Excellent. Thank you so much. Sorry I didn't get to you sooner. I didn't see the email. I should have been looking at Facebook. In the House and for a state Senate in New Hampshire. So, welcome to the show.
Well, let me make one small correction. I'm a former state representative.
State representative.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm well, and I'm sorry I couldn't make it up to Concord. I had lacrosse this morning, so it's just running around. We have lacrosse practice at 8 o'clock, and I figured we had plenty of time. So
that didn't work out.
No, it never seems to. So anyway, how you guys doing?
Good. We're having a pretty rowdy show, so welcome to our rowdy show, eh? What's on your mind, sir? What do you want to focus on today?
Well, this whole Medicare expansion thing has just left me with a big knot in my gut. I got to tell you, it just floored me that it went the way it did, and one of the final thoughts that everybody said, is when the federal government doesn't fund this at 100%, are we going to have the courage to make the program sunset or get rid of it? I mean, if we don't have the courage to do it now, anyway, I think anybody who plans on running, I can't understand how any Republicans voted for this. It just floors me.
Well, you're running for the Senate, and so if you get in, you will probably be very near to a position where you might have to deal with something like this. Now, I've proposed a couple things about opening up the marketplace, which would bring in more business and create revenue, so that we could create a situation where people would get all
thing. We're expanding, the welfare base, if anything. Let me just say another thing. It troubles me that Obamacare, passed through all kinds of deceit. We got to vote for it before we can see what's in it. And there were promises that you're going to be able to keep your doctor, you're going to be able to keep your insurance, you're going to have a reduction in your premiums of $2,500 or more. Not only are those falsehoods, now you can't even keep your hospital. There are 10 hospitals that are just going to be completely excluded from this program. So you have the foundation of deceit, and then you're going to augment it. You're going to expand that program for whatever reason. I'm not sure why leadership did this, but it just seems like you're building on a house of cards that's going to fall at a drop of a notice. It's bizarre. Why would you build on something that is going to be a train wreck?
Well, Kevin, this is Skip, and I've asked myself that multiple times. What is the quid pro quo here?
Right.
Who's scratching their back to do this? It wasn't gambling, because gambling got killed off yet again. I can't see anything else other than to take this off the table as a political issue for the midterms coming up in November. But that's what they thought. I have to believe, but it became very clear, and I told them this is going to happen. You've just appeased them. They're just going to haul out a different political club to wail on you with. And Cal Shea Porter later on that afternoon started it out in the Washington Post, which I put up on Granite Crock. I mean, basically, they cut the knees out for every single Republican who publicly declared we're against Obamacare, and now they've handed the Democrats a great political issue to run against. Well, look at those people. They care about the poor. How come you hate the poor?
Yeah, and I just want to counter with that, and the fact that it's going to create more poverty. What company is going to want to look at New Hampshire now that we're going to have this looming? We're going to create more deficits because of this. But I just think that one of the things that we can do to turn it around is that people that are running, whether it's state reps or in the federal government, does at 100%. Charlie Arlinghouse said that out of 49 states, the federal government only pays 90%. What made New Hampshire think that they were going to get 100%? They already know it's not going to work. Why would they do that? And leadership really, can I just say it, pissed off a lot of their own.
Well, I'll have to agree with you. There's a lot of us who literally had screaming matches with Jeb Bradley, with Nancy Stiles, with Chuck Morse, and a bunch of the others that voted for this thing. And I will tell you, I'm not sure whether they were trying to go after the independent vote here in New Hampshire, but what they have done, and you saw it with all of the Republican committees all over the state that were putting up resolution after resolution, unanimous, saying we are against this. I will tell you from the grassroots standpoint, I'm going to start, and we've already seen people say this. Jerry DeLemus of the Rochester 912 group has already said it. I'm now going to say it as the owner of Granite Grok, that if there is an establishment Republican that has won in their primary, I will tell my followers, leave that checkbox undone. You don't have to vote for the Democrat to send a message to the establishment Republican leadership, the elite who believe they know better than us. But I think it's time to no longer settle for the least evil. And in every single race that I look at on the ballot, if I see an establishment Republican that I know that I can't trust, I am not going to vote for them, period.
Yeah, and there's a huge buzz. I mean, whether you're in the House or in the, or you're just an observer and you're commenting on Facebook, the people that I'm listening to and I see and I respect. Some of the faith that stalwart, the pillars, that I know, they just, the comment is, well, they just did it to save their own backs, and they left us out, and they gave the Democrats, the softball. But I think we can turn the softball around, because what it's going to call for, it's a clarion call for people who have some backbone that are going to say, you know what, I will make a pledge that when this program fails, that we do shut it down, and I'll make that pledge, and they can say, well, you're going to have all these people out on the street because of your heartlessness, but you know what, Grandma still has to pay the bills too with her income, that limited income, and taxes are going to go up. Somebody's going to have to pay for this. Oh, I got an idea. Let's just raise the gas tax 22 cents. Whose freaking idea is this? I guess I'm getting a little animated, but they're going to come up with all other kinds of schemes to raise taxes. Are we going to have an income tax because of this? We know we're going to be saddled with this. Let me ask the public who's listening to this: where have you seen the federal government fund anything at 100% for any long period of time? Then ask yourself this question: our federal government has $17 trillion in debt. And it's just mounting. It's just, when are they going to pay the bill? It's just going to continue to rack up more debt. Somebody's got to stop and say, hey, look, I can't leave this debt to my kids anymore. I can't leave this debt to my grandkids or my great-grandkids at this rate. The whole face of the Granite State is just changing. We have to stop it. We have to have some people that can't, up there and run for office. People have got to run for office. They've got to get in there, and they've got to put a line in the sand and say, look, this is it. I can't do this anymore. We've got to fight.
We're going to have to put up candidates that, like they do in New York, run on two parties. They run on the Republican Party in the primary, and they run in some sort of conservative party or in the Libertarian Party, because what we need is conservatives that don't quit when the primary's over, that chase the bastard all the way to the finish line. Sorry.
Listen, I've been talking to a lot of people about that too. We're angry, and I'm hoping they're listening, because the giant isn't asleep. It's just angry now, and I believe that they're going to really pay for this.
Do you think there's enough movement that people are going to challenge these senators who voted the wrong way? Is there going to be some kind of coalition of real Republicans who are going to come together with a strategy, not just to say I'm going to stand up to this and allow it to sunset when the government basically breaks the deal, that has a plan? Because the Democrats are just going to come and say, you're heartless bastards, you're going to let this fall off the face of the earth and all these people are going to be left hanging. We talked just briefly about it a second ago. Is something going on? Is there a movement afoot?
At this time, I don't know of a whole lot of leadership that is pulling everybody together to make this. I do know that there are a lot of people that are really buzzing about it. And we are kind of anemic with leadership. They've got are organized.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of money, because that's what Ray Buckley does. He brings in a lot of money. I will tell you that there is a movement afoot to go after each and every single state senator that went after this, and there's over $1 million that has already been pledged to replace these folks, to primary them out of existence. And I'm quite sure that you'll see the RLCNH speaking out and doing the grunt work for this. Certainly we are going to be doing what we do in the blogosphere, and as we dominate the political discourse here in New Hampshire on the right, we will be pushing as fast and as hard as we can, because I'm telling you, a lot of people have been emailing me saying we're not voting for these for Republicans at all. They're going away, and that's not good.
No, it's not good. And you know, there are some really good Republicans. You know, I can name a few. You know, Laura Jones, J.R. Hull, Speg Bowers, John Burt, Andy Sanborn. Come on, the guy did a great job getting up there and talking. You know, and at this, we have some strong ones. They just need some support, and I don't see why every Democrat can't be challenged. You know, every one of them, and every rhino needs to be like you said, primary. Just put your name on the ballot. It costs a couple of bucks. You know, get out there. You'd be surprised how angry people are this time around.
Kevin, we're going to take a quick 60-second break. We'll be right back.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is the repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now to talk NHT.
Hi, this is Rich Gerard, host of Gerard at Large in the Morning, the Manchester area's only locally owned, locally operated, focused, and interested, riveting radio show, heard live every Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 on 90.7 FM WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio, and available 24/7 live or archived at GerardAtLarge.com. Be sure to tune in.
GrokTALK.
Okay, so I had a couple of quick points. First of all, Jennifer has been touting her Grassroots Givers program since she took office. And frankly, the way the Republican Party at the state and national level has treated its grassroots is those grassroots are looking a lot more like the California hills in August, i.e. dry, brown, and they ain't given much. And I'm going to say one more thing. We're not going to let these bastards get away with anything. We're going to do to them what Lisa Murkowski did to a perfectly viable conservative candidate who won a primary. When they win a primary, we're not going to let them go. We're going to do right in. We're going to chase them to the finish line. We're going to take them out.
Yeah, I think that you know we've got to send a message, and you know, surrender is not an option at this point. So you know. And just looking at the calendar, I mean, there's all kinds of things. It's like there's a barrage of things that's going on. So we need some people. We need to retake back the House and definitely get a majority in the Senate that will stand on principle.
Kevin, speaking of some of those other things, what else is on your radar? What else? I mean, obviously the gas tax increase is something that we've been talking about. But what do you have? I mean, you're running for state Senate. What's at the top of your agenda other than this debacle?
Corruption in New Hampshire, and we all know it exists. We all know it's out there, and we all know that there's an incestual relationship between all types of the bureaucracies. We have to take a look at it. People are getting hurt in the state of New Hampshire, whether by the family courts or the Attorney General's office, or the bureaucracies are just steamrolling over people, and then they wait and they just beat them down. Let me talk a little bit about family court. You know, as a president of the Center for Redress, you know, we kept the banner going when they killed the committee in the House. In the House, there are about 28 petitions that were founded, and the findings that we discovered dealt with all agencies, basically starting with the Attorney General's office. We had Richard Head come into our committee, and he basically made a confession that, oh my gosh, we misinterpreted the law. Well, his misinterpretation of the law cost Mr. Jeff Frost $185,000. They ransacked his house, his attorney's office, and they threatened him with years of jail time and of course, $500,000 worth of fines. He said, "I didn't do anything wrong." Well, he appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court, and he won. That cost him $185,000 to defend himself from the Attorney General's office, who misinterpreted the law. What does the average person do if they don't have $185,000 to defend themselves?
Question for you.
I believe because it was the state government that did it. We found it, and we said that, in our committee, we wanted at least an investigation. It was founded. It passed. It's in the House calendar. What did the Democrats do? They shut it down. I mean, you want to talk about just, these people are not for the little guy. They exploit the little guy. Right now, Jeff Frost has actually got a lawsuit going out, and I believe he's using Chuck Douglas. I'm pretty sure. But, the House should act on this. One of the reasons I'm running for Senate, I want to bring those petitions over to the Senate. I don't see anybody in the Senate working on this. I don't see anybody taking on the issues of the average Joe, the average mom and pop who's been abused by the bureaucrats.
I mean, this is a typical thing that we talk about on Granite Grok itself, as well as during our GrokTALK podcast. What is the proper role of government? What is the relationship between the government and the citizenry? And what you're telling us that as soon as the Democrats came into power, they said government should be over the people from a figurative, if not literal, standpoint. Whereas before, you were trying to make government more to be the public servant, which is what the founders originally intended. But we see the progressives trying to go back to the European model where every subject has a government over them. And, how hard of a struggle is it to keep that from getting more and more entrenched?
I think we have to always be diligent about our liberties. The founders put in the Constitution Article 31, Article 32, Article 38 for the protection of the people. And their protection was the House and the Senate, and they need to come up with remedy for the problems that they've suffered. We're not seeing that anymore. We're seeing that it gets delegated into the bureaucracies, and then the rules of either the courts or of the agencies seem to supplant the actual laws that are there to protect the people. So we have to keep addressing it, and we have to fight and allow and make sure that the people can be heard. Listen, when I heard that the redress committee was being created, I swear before Paul Edmondson even got it out of his mouth, I was actually in Pam Tucker's office, and I wanted to be part of that because I thought, my God, this is what a great opportunity. And then of course we got slammed. We say, well, this is a kangaroo court, or it's toothless, and nobody, now you got your findings, now what? Look, you got to have the will. You've got to have the will to stand up and say, look, this is unpopular. This is a bad thing. We had two good fathers that had their children taken away from them. Well, there was a guardian ad litem that, charged him about $40,000 and gave the judge a sealed envelope. Gave that sealed envelope to the judge, and the judge says, based upon what's in this envelope, your daughter's being taken away. You've committed no crime, but your daughter's being taken away. Whether it's David Johnson's or David Vandenberg, they said, well, I want to see what's in that document. The judge says, no. So we're going to take your child away, and you're not going to be able to know why. Is that right? Isn't there a law against that? Don't you have a right to face your accuser? And yet it goes on and on. It doesn't happen to just men. It happens to women in New Hampshire. DCYF, the guardian ad litems, the Attorney General's office, all these agencies are not accountable to anybody. Or UCC, and you find out that, well, they're friends with the judge. Or they're friends with your lawyer. and it just goes on, and you're finding case after case after case where people are being abused, their finances are being sucked away from them, and I don't see anybody fighting for them. And that's one of the reasons where I plan on bringing every one of those petitions that were founded, that are still in the House calendar and have not been acted upon. I'm going to bring them to the Senate, and I'm going to get co-sponsors, and I'm going to rail, and I'm going to make sure that the people know there's one son of a gun in that Senate that's going to fight for them.
Kevin, how do I have to cut everybody off because we got about a minute left, and I wanted people to know about your campaign, where they can get a hold of you, donate, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, email me at avardforsenate12@gmail.com. That's avardforsenate12@gmail.com.
Those are all AVARADFORSENATE.
Yeah, Avard, okay. AVARDFOR.
Okay.
Senate12@gmail.com, or like me on Facebook, and ask me any tough questions, ask anything you want, and I'll have an honest, hardcore conversation with you. Not politically correct. I can't stand it. It's killing us. It's just, I'm not. And as long as you don't hurl, insults, let's just have an honest discussion.
And you're going to be running against Betty Lasky, is that correct?
No, Peggy Gilmore.
Peggy Gilmore, okay. That was a loud Yahoo from there, Peggy Gilmore. All right, excellent. Give me a mic. Mike, go.
Are you going to... said that. Peggy...
All right. Thanks, Kevin, for being on the show. Great to have you here. We'll hope to get you on again. Good luck.
Super. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
All right, sure thing. All right, my name's Steve McDonald. I'm here with Skip Murphy and Mike Rogers. We're done for the day. We'd like to thank all our guests and hope you tune in next week for another 2 hours.
Grok TV.